Today we are going to talk with a man that will share his extraordinary journey. Born in 1977, he was not ordinary individual. Known for his pioneering efforts in business and economics, his approach to life was deeply rooted in logic and structure. I'm glad to have him here, the founder of Revive, Ken Lever.
Thank you. It's funny because I first met you, Wianey, when I was at the very beginning of this journey. I think we first crossed paths like 2015 or 16, maybe 15, in Lazada in Vietnam. And I thought I figured it out then. And then it took me like another 6 years of like my life going up and down, like through like a mini hell. But it's pretty funny. It's been a journey. So thank you.
I thank you, and I would like to know more about your findings. And one of the interesting part that I would like also the persons who are listening to us is about the posterior open bite.
Yeah. So the important thing to understand about how this works, right, and why it works. Human teeth, like your upper and lower teeth, come together, right? Everybody understands your teeth come together. And some people think like it just goes flat, like your upper and lower teeth, the way what's called the occlusion by dentists, how your teeth come together is just flat, but actually it curves up. And dentists call that the curve of Spee. Like the curve of Spee is a dental term from the late 1800s. What I figured out through trial and error is that when I did things like yoga or, things that improve the body, the curve of Spee would improve, right? Now, when I say the curve of Spee would improve, it means that, of course, the teeth are not going to like grow or move, in after a thing of yoga. So what happens is the upper jaw picks up off the lower jaw and you have a slight space in the back because like things have moved and now the back teeth don't touch. So like if you were to track the upper teeth, it kind of goes up in a little bit more of a curve up after say an hour of yoga, right? And so for me, the posterior open bite is a dental term, which means this small open space between the upper and lower teeth in the back. It means that the back teeth don't touch, and it generally has a negative perception, which it should, because if you sleep with a posterior open bite, and you don't have a mouth guard, then it closes over time, and it closes at the expense of your entire skull and skeleton. And that's why the posterior open bite has such a bad perception, is because if someone creates a posterior open bite with like a bad dental appliance or dental work or something, they generally will experience like expedited aging, right? But a posterior open bite is not necessarily bad as long as you're creating it by using a mouth guard and supporting it at night with a mouth guard. So again, like the main thing I want to stress here is this is about improving curve of Spee. And to improve curve of Spee, the teeth, of course, cannot change immediately, and therefore a posterior open bite is created. So you can almost think of improving curve of Spee and posterior open bite as being two sides of the same coin. This is what, like, I think a lot of dentists, like humanity, doesn't understand. And the other thing that I just want to explain as good context is that why do I think that this is such a big deal? Like, why do I think what I've put together just based on logic, right? Like I didn't understand much about dental anatomy or anything. I just was doing these experiments and learned that like when I did exercise, basically the posterior open bite would improve. And then if I didn't wear a mouth guard, it would close again. So like everything you were doing was just improving this curve of Spee thing. But I realized that if I continued to improve curve of Spee, like whenever I get healthier over the past years, I would drill these splints that would represent how my upper teeth would make contact with the splint. And my splint would always start out flat and then get curved, as the weeks went on. And so I was like, oh, okay, when I get healthier, there's more of a curve. When I get less healthy, because I do the wrong experiment, it got flatter. So all I realized, like, okay, like health equals more curve, not health equals less curve. Right? And then basically, like, what I've then kind of attributed this to is like all I think human aging is this curve. Like this curve, I wouldn't look at it as like it's causing aging, but this is a reflection of your skeletal health, is what I figured out. And that essentially it is the same thing as aging. And so like it gets into deeper questions like, does aging even exist? Like, is this the root cause of almost every disease? Like, is this curve basically the root cause of beauty in humans? And I actually think like each one of those questions, I have a very strong confidence that one day like the answer is going to be yes across all three. And that's going to be massive, right? Like, do I expect them to attribute this to me? No. Like, I think it's going to take another 10, 20 years for them to conclude these things I am. But like, that's how far I think this goes.
I understand. And this is something very interesting as well, because as you mentioned, you will find that was the person that you give yourself a try. As I remember, we was talking before, you went to a doctor, if I'm not mistaken, was in Ukraine, and you just challenge yourself. You say, okay, I am not feeling okay. I'm not feeling all right. The doctor suggested you, sorry, the dentist suggested you to wear for something in my bite. And you just say, okay, I don't believe it's going to get worse than how it is, and I can try. And how was this experiment for you? Because I could notice as well in your journey that you pretty much try things and prove yourself if it's good for you or if it's not good for you.
Yeah. So I think the situation you're talking about was more or less late 2013. I was living in Kiev. It was before I moved to Vietnam. And I had been on about a 15 to 20 year search for why my back and neck were always tight. And it would also tighten my voice. So it really would frustrate me. So I would say from the time I was about 22 until that year, which was, I was probably 36 or something. So it was like 15 years about of going to some kind of medical like doctor or chiro or acupuncture, like different things, like twice a week on average. Like I spent massive amounts of time and money for 15 years trying to figure out why these things are tight, trying everything, pharmaceuticals, and going nowhere, right? And then so I walk into this dental office in 2013 in Ukraine, and the dentist says, hey, I think you might have TMJ. He sends me to TMJ dentist. TMJ dentist says, hey, try this dental splint. I didn't expect anything of it. I put the thing on, like a couple days later, like all my neck and back issues are gone. Right? Yeah, I spent 15 years and like hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing what the hell this thing is. Guy puts a dental splint on me and it's gone. I'm like, what? Like, how is this possible? So I was like, I was ecstatic for a couple months, but then like I ended up leaving Ukraine for Vietnam in 2014. Asked the Vietnamese dentist to make me the same thing because I chewed through it, and what he gave me was a little bit different, and like it didn't feel the same. And then what set me off on this big journey that you mentioned in the intro is that Vietnamese dentist proposed to drill my contacts and my teeth to fix it. Yeah, and he was a TMJ dentist, right? And so I still didn't know anything about this whole field at the time. I didn't even bother researching it. Like for me, these guys were magicians because the first guy solved all my issues so quickly. So this guy said, yeah, go ahead. Right. And then like half an hour later, he like flattened a lot of my dental cusps. And then, a couple months later, I was in a nightmare.
And there's something that I really like about your product is that you are also challenging everyone. And I like that very much because it shows your level of confidence. You just put it plain and simple. Like, you have 90 days and I won't charge you anything. And more, if you do not start to feel any change in the first 2 weeks, it means it doesn't work for you. And it's very interesting because I see in the community that people are not going against that. I don't see anyone in there. You have a huge community, and I don't see anyone in there saying otherwise. I don't feel any change in this trial that I'm doing. How can you explain?
Yeah, so I would say it is it would be extremely rare for a human being to sleep with a simple rubber mouth guard on and not start to feel quite a bit of things. Right? It would mean that like all your muscles and joints, because you're putting a stretch that by definition is going to start to like create some differences. Like you're gonna feel pain in the gum, or you're gonna feel something weird. It might trigger headaches. Like, right. So in the vast majority of people, like just wearing a mouthguard to sleep, even the first night, like you're gonna feel something. And there, like, you would have to be very healthy to feel nothing. Right? And like you wouldn't come and do Revive if you were very healthy. So like that's why it's kind of a no risk thing. Right? And then like the 90-day thing is, if you stick with it and you wear a mouth guard to sleep every night for the 90 days, like if you have any health issues, like it would be almost impossible for them not to improve because of the way this works. And so I think, we've sold Revive appliance. What you're seeing is a community, which is, I think, getting to 900 people soon. But we've sold the appliance to 3,000 people. And I get a lot of emails too from people, because a lot of people are not on the community. The stories are crazy. Like people are improving like all kinds of stuff. And nobody's saying, hey, I want my money back. Like I think one person did because it was hurting too much.
Yes, I see. And 1 out of 3,000, statistically speaking, is a very small number that is not even counted in, considering the huge success of the product. And how do the person adjust to this process? Because it's necessary some level of diligence and also discipline, right?
Yeah, so that's why first what I tell people is, if they're gonna do this journey, because it is a journey, it's not like a band-aid, and it takes a while, like to really achieve bigger goals. You better have a reason for doing it, right? So people who are like, hey, like I just want to try this, I'm fine. Those people, like I encourage them, don't even start, because you got to do this to try to solve something or try to achieve something. And some people are already healthy, but they want to like become more healthy and more flexible, and they're driven. So they adjust to the process because they have a goal that they're trying to achieve. That's my main point, is that like it's going to hurt most people. So I'd say like the vast majority of people, like their gums, their teeth are going to hurt. They might get some headaches, and their first couple weeks can be kind of hard. Right. But they're doing it because they believe this leap of faith, which is encouraged by all these people in the community. If they're on the community and they see, oh, hey, like these other people are saying it works. So that leap of faith that like their goal is going to be achieved. And then they just got to keep pushing.
So that you say in the beginning, you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable because you are already passing through change, and you are also adapting your jaw and your tooth and out taking the shape of the meat. And is it hard to chew?
Hard to chew. So
Yes.
when a posterior open bite is created, one of the biggest concerns about this whole process is, oh, it's going to create a posterior open bite, right? And in my view, like you don't create true structural change without creating a posterior open bite, because it's, posterior bite is this curve of Spee that you need to improve. So not having your back teeth touch, the immediate question is, oh, how am I going to eat? Right? Like, am I going to have to chew just on my front teeth? Because like, that's very hard to do. The vast majority of people, they develop this posterior open bite, but it's not a very big one. And so you still chew fine on your back teeth. Like I have a posterior open bite for over 4 years, and I chew absolutely fine. I don't even think about it. And I even think like it's like your teeth don't need to make contact with each other in order to chew, right? Like you're putting force on the food is staying in between the teeth. So I chew on my molars just fine, even though they don't touch. And generally with this process, like you won't have a very big posterior open bite. Like it will be a relatively small one.
Okay. So it how does affect how you play your lips, you have some pressure in the teeth. How is all of this part of the process that you may pass through, mostly into the night, as you mentioned, the recommendation is that you use Wianey with lip, and sometimes during the day.
Yeah, so it's important to understand what it's doing and how this process works, at least from my point of view. The way I view it is like you have this soft tissue, which is your skin, your fascia, like anything that is covering the muscle and the bone. And putting this mouth guard in, like you're kind of keeping something between the teeth that acts kind of a door jamb, right? Like you're putting a door jamb between your teeth, and that's stretching the tissue here, right? Because the tissue still needs to cover the same amount of like area, but now it's got this door jamb between the teeth. So you're stretching this tissue, and this tissue happens to be connected to all the tissue around your entire body. And so I call it inflating. Like every day, my scalp, my face rips because the tissue literally like stretches. My head literally expands. It's like putting an air pump in my ear, like just gassing the thing up, right? And so what happens, because your cranial bones are like 22 bones that are connected at soft tissue sutures, when you were unhealthy, like these bones are probably like a bit deranged. They might be overlapping a little each other, like bones are out of position. And that's what causes facial asymmetry, right? And as you inflate this thing, it's kind of like taking dents out of a car. Like you're just right. You're inflating, and then the bones start going back into the correct position. And as the skull inflates, because it has more room, you function better, right? Like I function now better than I did when I was 22 years old. Like I'm just like a beast. Like I work from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day, nonstop. Even on the weekend, like I work half my weekend just because I enjoy it. And like I'm just eating crap and doing no exercise the whole time. And I haven't been sick in 5 years. And like it's amazing. And like now there's like a whole bunch of people in our community that are doing the same thing. And like, wow, Ken, like you weren't just like pulling our leg. Like this shit actually works.
It must be a great feeling. And you think there a way to speed up the process, or it may not be needed?
There are ways to speed up the process, and you will need to do this at some point. So what happens is that just wearing the mouth guard is fine for the first couple months usually. Things will remodel in your mouth. Your teeth will start, like your arches will expand a little. Your complexion will improve. Functionally, certain things will improve a little. And then you'll start to plateau. Right? And I hit this many times in the past. And then when you plateau, you need to do some more active things. Like during the day, you need to wear what I show in the community, which is these clip-ons. You put on your teeth, and it's flat, and it like keeps a bit of a door jam during the day. There's also like stretches you can do. You stretch your jaw and you stretch your body at the same time, and it kind of stretches this tissue. So these are things that I do. And so like it depends on your goals, right? I believe that this can take any human of any genetics, of any age, to model level beauty and perfection, like perfect health while eating crap at any age with any genetics. Like I am firmly a believer that they will prove that to be beyond a doubt true one day. Right? I don't expect anyone to believe me now. Like but I'm gonna prove it on myself first. You know, like it might take me another 6 to 12 months. But like you literally just like rip out of everything, and like your body changes. And I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yes, you did answer very well. And I would love to see your journey, as mentioned, between 6 to 12 months, where you're going to be just eating all the things that you really like, that you enjoy, that is supposed to not be healthy. However, your health is not based in what you are eating, it's actually based on your jaw and how is the structure of your tooth. It would be really good to see that. And can it be
one thing I just want to add to that is,
cool?
like it's not about the jaw, right? Like the jaw is just one piece. Like what I'm saying is that it's the overall skeleton, like it's the structure of your body that is most important. All this like diet and all, like they play a role, but they mainly play a role when your structure is collapsing, right? So I was one of the most healthy people in my 20s and my 30s. Like, I was the guy that was eating salad all the time, going to the gym 4 times a week, even when I was exhausted. And I was just getting worse all the time. Like 2 years ago, I was doing experiments like this whole eating unhealthy and doing all this, like this isn't something I just started doing the last 6 months. Like I've been doing this since late 2021. So I'm doing the exact same thing. Right. And I felt like crap in 2020. So I'm like, I was coming back from like looking and feeling like an old fart in 2020. Now, for the last 2 years, I'm eating crap, and I'm only tightening up, and I'm getting stronger, and I'm not getting sick, and I'm literally like happy 24/7. So like this process is already like clearly works, but like I won't look the way I want to look until I am. And I've actually done it to that end once, I think in 16 or 17. But it took a lot less time because I was less messed up. My main point is like the process I'm talking about is not like some hypothetical thing. Like it's something I'm doing for 3.5 years.
Yeah, because you mentioned something that you have to live it, that you learn it, that you also develop, and you want now to broadcast it and have more people just having a better life and improving day-to-day basis. And when it comes to, as you mentioned, is the whole school in your skeleton structure, can you tell me more about the torque test?
So the torque test, it's a way to continue to improve, right? So what I figured out when I was going into all these, like, trying to figure out how to get past plateaus, because that's becomes the big question, right? Like, anyone can use a mouth guard for a while. Nobody concluded the things that I concluded, even though mouth guards have been a thing for 40 years. My brace existed since 1989, selling mouth guards, just like our Revive one. But nobody concluded the things I concluded, because you need to figure out how to get past these plateaus. And so the torque test is why I have a towel with me all the time. And basically, you bite on it. And that noise you hear, I call it torque. But basically, like, it's not my teeth moving. It's like something that is moving in the skull, right? Maybe the palate. But they kind of, like, I associate this, like, what I know what to do is, like, it is associated to kind of like expanding the skull. Like, you do this and then, like, you can stretch more. So that's what the torque test is.
Understood, understood, and it's very interesting. So you can do at home with any towel that you have. You can just
Yeah, but you're only gonna build up torque to kind of take out if you do the stretches and you're wearing a mouth guard and stuff. Like, if you're just, like, not wearing a mouth guard or anything, you're trying to, like, stick a towel in your mouth, like, nothing's gonna happen.
okay. Now it's clear. And is there a bit more you would like to share about the jaw body stretches?
Stretches. So
Yes.
the main thing about stretching is that you need to stretch the body. I define what I call the end when you finish as perfect flexibility of the body. That is part of how I pass plateaus. Like, I find where something is restricted, like I can't move my arm past here. And then I stretch the jaw at the same time. And I start to feel that, okay, like, if I put the body in stretch and I stretch the jaw, it's like you're taking this band and you're stretching it both ends. And so eventually, like, you feel it stretch and it releases. That's part of how I stretch. So as time goes on, like, you need to be able to feel, okay, like, this is a restriction. How do I stretch it with the jaw? And you stretch at both ends.
Understood. This is very interesting. I mean, it seems that you are using a whole set of exercises for the continuity. It's not something for starters that you are improving and you are taking the habit with them. And this brings me to the next one. It's about thumb and mewing.
Mewing, thumb pulling and mewing.
Yeah.
So thumb pulling and mewing is just another, like, thumb pulling is when you put your thumb and you kind of pull on your palate. Mewing is like you suck your tongue up to the roof of your mouth and you swallow. So in the looks maxing communities, these are two things that a lot of people do. I used to do them a little bit back in the day, and I would check how it would change my dental contacts, and I saw that it works, right? So, like, obviously, if all these people are creating content around thumb pulling and mewing, like, it must be doing something. And I can tell you from the fact, as a person that used to get the articulating paper and drill my like, what would happen to my dental contacts after I did, like, I can tell you it does work. Like, it does improve the curve of Spee. Do I think it's the fastest way to accelerate this process that I'm talking about? No. Like, I think the things that I'm doing are way faster. As a starter to kind of accelerate, like, I think it's a great thing to do.
For more than a decade, Ken, we see people wearing braces for many reasons. Not only to have a better structure on the tooth, but also to fix some issues that they may have into the teeth while they are growing. Mostly teenagers. They also grow up using it. However, we see more into the teenagers. That is the moment where you are growing faster and you are having a lot of change in your body. So, how do you see braces, Invisalign, and retainers? How does how does it impact the curve of the skin that, as you mentioned, is pretty much the core for a healthy?
Basically, orthodontics move the teeth in an artificial way. And as a result, this curve of Spee flattens. Basically, like, and extractions do the same thing. So most of our community has some health issues. In almost all their cases, I would say those health issues, a big factor in why they have those health issues, right? And so they have everything from ADHD to autism to chronic pain to headaches to, like they've got all these issues. And they never understood that actually it was probably the braces or the aligners or the extractions they did as a teenager or perhaps as a young adult, because those things flatten this curve of Spee. I don't think orthodontics is going to exist in 10 years. Like, I'm going to help put a tombstone on their grave, because when what I'm saying becomes more widely accepted and understood, like, it is going to be the biggest, like, lawsuit city you have ever seen, because everyone's going to sue the shit out of their orthodontist, because they're going to figure out, like, I have so many people in the community that have what I call orthodontic induced ADHD. So it's an adult who's like 40, 50 years old, has ADHD for the last 5-10 years or whatever, was diagnosed finally. They actually, like, the only reason they got that ADHD is because they did the braces, either as a teenager in their 20s, crushed the skull crushed the brain, boom, they have ADHD.
I see. And it's very interesting what you say, because since the beginning you are putting clear that it's interconnected. Should you take retainer off at the beginning?
With the retainer, I say that you don't need to take it off at the beginning. Like, you can still start the process with a retainer on, but once you start feeling confident in that works, because it will impede a lot of your progress, you need to eventually take it off to increase at the speed that you could.
Understand. So this is one of the things that may help you to speed up, right? So in case you choose to speed up, you better remove it. If you are just fine and want to follow the process and see how long it will take for you, to keep them.
Yeah, and I would say that with this process, the teeth are changing on a daily basis. So like, as you do this process with the mouth guard and doing the stretches, every day some of your teeth are uprighting, they're untwisting, the arches are getting wider, so they're moving outwards. And a retainer prevents that from happening, because the retainer is going to sit on top of the teeth and just lock them. And so you're like, the tissue stretches in part because the teeth are allowed to move. But you can think of a retainer as like an anchor. It's going to prevent the teeth from moving and therefore stopping a lot of the soft tissue stretch that would happen. So you're going to hit a very low plateau if you keep a retainer on.
I understand now, and it's very interesting, as you said. And there are other things that you mentioned that is more about the X-Men. It's the neurology and how do you feel a couple of days, actually, right? Because it's quite fast, the side effects, the good side effects you see, right?
Like, some people have some serious health issues and they're not going to feel like X-Men anytime soon, right? Some people have like really serious health issues, but everyone could get there. There's some younger guys who didn't have very serious health issues, and they're really big on all these accelerating stretches. And a couple of them are already saying the same things I am, that they feel a ton of energy, and they're just happy all the day. Right? So a couple of guys have said, I feel this euphoria. And this is what I describe. It's like, for 2 years, I'm just happy, like, all the time. Like, I forgot what it feels like to be depressed. Like, you could like say some bad shit to me and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's bad. And then I'll be like happy again. Right? And like, that's not taking any effort. Like, that's what this process does to you. And you like some people think it's like you're almost like you're high at coke or something, right? Because like you're just like wired, and you don't need alcohol. Like I drink maybe like 1 beer every month because I just don't want to. So you have all this energy, you don't get sick, you have amazing focus, despite like regardless of what you do, except doing this process. And like now some other people are really starting to get to that point too, where they feel that and they understand that it's real. And that's what I call X-Men. It's like when you understand that that's like could be real for you. And like how much better that is, right? Than taking like the pharmaceutical garbage and having to run to the gym every day. So like my big philosophy is, like, life was meant to be easy. Like, we were designed as humans to be very hardy. Like look at evolution. Like, we came from the caveman. Caveman had to eat like whatever was available, and probably he ate some really crappy food sometimes. And then I also make this metaphor to the lion. I'm like, the lion, if allowed to do whatever it wants, is going to sit his ass under the tree the whole day, right? He's only gonna get up to like kill something and eat if he's hungry. And I literally think the human was like designed to be the same. I live under the rule of like I eat whatever I want, whatever my body tells me at any time of day, and I listen to my body, and so I stay extremely healthy by doing that. And my body never tells me to like go and run around for the hell of it. Like I think it's the same with the lion. Like no, like the lion's body doesn't say, "Hey, just go run around the friggin' Sahara for an hour just to like break a sweat." And I think that's what they're gonna figure out about humans. Like we don't have to exercise.
Well, it's understandable and it's very interesting because it goes way back the human evolution, right? We passed a lot of things to get where we are today, and we didn't get where we are by choosing it, right? We just take what we can when we can. So as we was talking here, and it's really good talk with you. As you mentioned, Revive is going to change your bone structure. It's going to adapt it, and it's going to also increase your curve speed. By doing that, it's going to change all of your structure, and we are talking here about your bones, and it's going to be doing that in daily basis. So people who have migraine, lack of energy, and many other things that you are living with that things, they may get better. And I think this is related to symmetry somehow.
Yeah, because the reason it's related to symmetry is you think back to the mechanics that I'm saying how it works is that you're stretching this soft tissue which is connected to the rest of the body. The whole thing is inflating, right? Like you can imagine the metaphor I like to make is like it's a full body wetsuit. So think about a whole full body wetsuit that even covers the skull, your feet, and everything. And what life did to you, especially if you did orthodontics, or just like you could have misdeveloped as a child, but like you took the air out of that wetsuit. So when the wetsuit's powerful enough to crush your entire body and your skull, right? That is what the soft tissue did. And so you're walking around every day going to the gym, but you're like crushed in reality. And what this process does is that like it puts the air back in, and so all of a sudden, like your bones, because the wetsuit's now going back out, like your bones can revert back to where they are. Your structure can revert back to where you are, and you start to function really well. Even though, I'm coming up on 50, like I honestly think with this process, you could function amazing, maybe even to 100 years old and beyond. And that's like, I think that's going to be amazing for people.
Yes, I think you are right. And we have a generation that is going to hit 100 quite easily, not only because of the evolution of the medicine, but also because we are living better. And now, as I see with Revive, you can even get in there with more energy.
People are living longer in general because, like there's that more access to medicine and stuff like this. But I think like in the last 100 years, humans have gotten far less healthy. And I don't think it has anything to do with, us living a more sedentary lifestyle. Like I do this whole process. Like I work from, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and I just sit in front of my desk and I don't give a shit about my posture the entire day. And I don't I'm just getting better the whole time. And so I don't agree with any of these people about like, oh, you got to do this. You got to get around and move. You got to like, we're looking at our phones too much. Like, I think that's all BS. I think it's just these biomechanics. But like, if you look at your average human being, especially like an American, like they're collapsing. They're horrible. Like if you look at 80 years, 100 years ago, what Americans looked like, there was almost no obesity. People had these great skulls and they were all healthy. Like the level of neurological disease and all these other like diseases that are associated to this collapse were like tiny. So now, people tell me like, oh yeah, we're going to live to like, I'm like, no, you're not. Like, I can see your neck, your skeleton, your skull. Like, you're not going to live as long as your father was. It doesn't matter how much access to medicine was. And you see this all the time, right? Like, someone said, like, I love when people tell me, oh, yeah, like, my grandfather lived to 102, so I'm going to live to 102. And I'm like, I looked at him, like, you did braces. And, like, they're like, you're going to be lucky if you make it to 70, Jack. But that's how it works. Like, I've been looking at this stuff for 10 years. And, people are starting to understand that maybe there's something to it.
All right. Ken, we already went through all of the questions that we would. I remember that you also put you here of the community. I did the same. We have been through them. That's all we got for today. And of course, this is the introduction topic, right? We have more topics to talk about it. And I can also write down other introductions for the other topics as we
Okay,
go.
great.
So-
yeah, thank you for listening. And thank you, Wianey, for doing this.